One subgenre within horror that I think just gets overplayed too much is the kind of child with evil inside it, and it must be fucking holy watered out of them. I just think it gets overdone, and there's too many films like that, and they're all too similar. Now, one horror movie that I recently saw on Netflix is one of those within that subgenre of the evil within the child, but you don't actually know that until probably the last 10 or 15 minutes because this movie has one of the biggest plot twists. And sure, if you follow a lot of the pretty obvious foreshadowing and clues within the movie, you'll kind of pick up that it is going to have a religious tone or undertone later in the movie, but it comes on so abruptly and kind of like out of nowhere that it's hard to actually track with it. I'm talking about Eli, and the movie it's not bad. It's from 2019. It's a horror movie. And it's not bad. I've actually seen it a couple times now. The movie starts with this boy Eli playing in a field, and all of a sudden he kind of just falls out on the ground, sick. And his skin starts to kind of like burn and like react almost like hives, kind of. And then it cuts to the family at a hotel, leaving. The kid is in like his own like sectioned off bubble, and the dad is checking out. And the clerk at the hotel says that his card got declined, and pretty soon we find out it's because he dumped all the money into this one doctor who supposedly can cure this kid's condition and has in the past, allegedly. So as the family is leaving the hotel, it shows a giant billboard with a Bible verse in it. I can't remember what exact verse it was, but it was something along the lines of the person who lies will be punished. Something along those lines, talking about how bad it is to lie. And that's kind of a common theme throughout the movie that the parents, especially, really jab back and forth at each other with, kind of insinuating that there's some affair going on. There's just a lot of talk about, like, oh, what do you know about trust? Or, oh, what do you know about faith? Type of stuff like that. The family finally gets to not a hospital, but it's like an abandoned building that got kind of renovated into this treatment facility. But the little kid, Eli, he goes in first into this like middle chamber, kind of breezeway type deal. It like sprays him, airs him out, and you can see kind of like little particles floating, disinfectant, whatever type of shit. And then a giant flash of light. And again, that's kind of one of the symbolisms that you'll see, the obvious clues, the great white light. And then when Eli comes out of that metal chamber, he's greeted by the main, like the head lady of the house and two nurses. If you look at the nurses, their scrubs more look like just purple nuns robes, and in hindsight that's all it is. It's not the only reason you can tell it's scrubs is because they're like that purplish pink that you always see nurses wear because it's just inviting and friendly. And the main lady who runs the facility tells him that he can take this like not bubble, like this suit off. Looks like a little space suit, but it's that way he doesn't come in contact with any of the outside shit. The lady explains that the entire house is sterile, disinfected, so nothing in there is going to cause him to have a reaction like he does when he's outside. Everything in there is top to bottom cleaned. Then they kind of go through this long-winded explanation of his condition, which I completely don't understand. He's missing something in his genetic code to fight off viral infections. So he just overreacts to everything that can get him sick. And the lady, Dr. Horn, the lady who runs the facility, she tells Eli that they can actually correct that deficiency, this problem within his genes. Dr. Horn then goes on to talk about the past patients she's had, and that she's seen this issue before. She knows what to do to correct it. And when he asks, like, hey, you've cured these people, right? Like they're alive and well. She acts like she doesn't hear him, and then just looks like a puppet. She, hmm, huh, and then she really just avoids the question, saying that she's gonna do everything she can to get him better. She doesn't really confirm or deny if she's actually helped anyone. And so I think right there would be a red flag to the parents, at least. If I have a kid and their doctor's like, fucking it might, flip a coin, I'm gonna be a little concerned, just a tad, because they do say that she said that she's helped all these kids, that she has gotten all these kids better. But then when he asks, she's like, I don't, maybe. Then Eli looks down a hallway that's like blocked off and like everything's all saran wrapped. And he sees a kid standing there. And then when he asks about it, the lady, Dr. Horn, kind of just goes, um, No idea what you're talking about. Nothing there. It's all clean. You're good. Um, doesn't really address him asking about the kid he saw, but she plays it off like it's nothing. And then Eli is spending his first night in the house. He's not allowed to sleep with his parents because he's going through the procedures and the treatments, and so he has to kind of stay isolated. But he's pretty scared his first night. You know, new house. He saw something pretty freaky earlier. He like looks at the window and there's breath on it, like steam, someone breathing on it, and all of a sudden four finger marks run across the like the fog, the mist, the vapor, the mouth liquids, and scares the fuck out of him reasonably. He falls on his ass and then runs to his parents' room and, against the doctor's orders, sleeps in bed with them. And then the next morning is when Eli starts his first round of the treatment. And as soon as he gets into the kind of operation room, it's super cold. And the nurses who were like, "Hi, Eli, it's so nice to meet you. Hi, mom and dad, nice to meet you." Their arms up, spread them, fucking real invasive, measuring him, putting a shirt or a gown on him. And then they like strap him down, they fucking head clamp him to the table, so that way he can't shake and writhe. And doctor injects him probably with some numbing stuff or part of the medicine, tells him to count down from 100 as she takes a fucking corkscrew into this kid's, she shoves a corkscrew into his fucking derriere, in the meat, not the fucking, didn't get the starfish, you got the meat. But fucking it starts drilling, takes a sample kind of flesh and whatever, and like saves it, it looks like. And then as he's counting down, he's like looking in the like a reflection of a metal chair in front of his face, and he sees another kid, little boy, fucking burnt face, it looks like, just like staring at him. Then Eli blacks out, and when he wakes up, he's belly up. When they strapped him down, he was like chest on the chair on the table. Now he's facing up, and he starts really struggling against the restraints, like he's in pain and saying how bad it hurts, and the doctor is just saying that the medicine is working, that the treatment is working, and it's that typical, you're gonna get worse before you get better type of shit. And then it cuts to him back in his room, and he all of a sudden there's like a rock that hits the glass and fucking chips it somehow, a little tiny rock. He sees a girl standing down around the house, and she's like waving him to come down. And so he tiptoes his way downstairs, finds this kind of section of the house where like all the walls are glass, and so it's like you're outside but you're not. When he's down there talking to the girl, that he shows her a card trick, because this kid knows how to pull. I had a similar strategy in middle school. Yeah. She's like, "Hey, you want to see this trick? I can start a fire with my mind." She turns around, turns back, and then there's like fire in her palm. Eli tells her like, "Oh, I know how you did that. You just turned around, and when I didn't see you, you lit a match in your hand. So let me see the match." And she says, "No, that's not how I did it." He says, "Well, then how the fuck?" And then she says in a very foreshadowy way, some things you just have to figure out for yourself. Really mysterious line, just to be talking about a dumb magic trick that she's putting on for him. And then she tells him how she has a really bad feeling about that house and how it's like creepy and like the shit that they do in there. And then she says that she's not actually allowed to be there because the owners, employees don't like her, meaning that she has shown up there before. She's done something to piss off these people that are working with these sick kids. As Eli is walking back to his room, he walks by this giant room with like saran wrapped furniture and everything. And then it does that thing that horror movies do where when you shine the flashlight, there's nothing there. But when you don't shine it, bippity boppity boo, fucking, I'm gonna kill you. There's another kid, and she does this crazy contortionist shit, chases him down, and then he hides behind these like the like plastic flap, kind of free flow doorway entrance type deal. And as she like goes to pull it back, it turns into his dad, and he's like, "Hey man, you gotta fucking get in bed." And then it shows him and his family at dinner. And the kid is clearly frustrated and he's super like banging shit all over, saying like, you guys don't believe me that I'm seeing someone else here. There is another kid in this house. We are not alone here. She says we're the only ones here. We're not. And then after his parents are like, look, it's the medicine, you silly kid. You're fine. They're just pumping you full of hallucinogens. You're doing peyote. It's spiritually cleansing. You're gonna be fine. He's in bed tripping balls apparently, rolling off of Molly, and he sees a like figure behind the window curtain, and he goes to it, and when he pulls it, bippity boppity boo, no one's there for you. Then he like breathes into the glass, because when there's fog on that glass, good things happen. He writes his name, Eli. He writes his E's really weird, like a 3, like he does like this motion. And in hindsight, they did it just to set something up really dumb later. Not something dumb, but like, are you serious? He just happens to write his G's like that, and then this happens. All right. And then all of a sudden, it like a ghost starts to write in the fog, similar, like exact same handwriting, just like rearrange the letters, and it spells out lie. Then Eli backs up, scared from the window, bumps into a armoire dresser with a mirror on it. And when he hits the mirror, he turns around and he sees a little kid ghost writing in the fog. He sees the ghost that's writing. Turns around, of course, nothing there. And then as the camera pans back to Eli in the mirror, it starts to up tempo on a violin, and something's about to happen. Shows the mirror, nothing. Eli goes to close the door to the mirror, changing the angle. Bibbity boppity boo. No hope for you. He starts to like crawl away from the ghost, because faster than running, you know? His parents come in the room, helping him. He's screaming his head off. They're worried, you know, that he's having a manic episode. And then Dr. Horn says that, you know, what we're doing is really tolling on his body and his mind. He's gonna get worse before he gets better. She reiterates that. And then Eli goes in for his second procedure, and he again gets strapped to a table, this time chest up again, like we saw when he like woke up and was burning. Same setup, his head is all clamped in. They inject him, and then he really just starts to look like Deadpool for a minute. And while he's, you know, screaming his little head off, Dr. Horn shaves a patch out of the back of his head and gets a fucking drill and goes fucking ham on this kid's head, and yeah, he blacks out. The funniest part about like the drill part is that she said, you know, if you're stressed out, you're gonna work up your symptoms and you're gonna have a flare up. And I think it's funny that she talks about not being stressed, pushing a fucking drill into this kid's skull. Like, you are the stress. You're a toxic. Eli is in a toxic relationship with his doctor. Don't be stressed out, unless it's caused by me. And then it cuts to the parents, you know, really upset, really worried. The mom is praying, and the dad says something like, oh, what makes you think that's going to help us? Again, kind of foreshadowing. Then it cuts to dinner again. And again, they're arguing, hey, I think she's making me worse. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, kid. And dad gives him the option to leave and just stay sick his whole life, or, you know, nut up or shut up and push through kind of deal. And of course, because of plot, he nuts up and shuts up and says he'll finish the procedures. And then again, Eli's in bed, and he gets another, you know, rock to the window, sees the girl, and she like motions him to come down. And as he goes to leave his room, he hears his shower on, and when he goes into the bathroom, he can see someone behind the curtain. But of course, when he pulls the curtain back, nothing's there. And then he looks in the mirror, and it's all foggy. And he wipes it clear, and he has a bloody nose. And then the lights start to flicker, sort of like some shit from Stranger Things. Never seen it. Seen that picture. Yeah. And then he sees a kid in the mirror, starts to rub it away, and then the kid starts to actually like gaslight himself and say like, you're not real, you're just from the medication. and thinks he's going to be able to get rid of this kid. The kid in the mirror does disappear, but then it cuts back to the shower. An arm reaches out for Eli, and he books it out of the bathroom and into the armoire with the mirror, and closes himself in, and it's rattling, and there's like a bunch of noise and banging outside of it. And all of a sudden, the armoire collapses on itself, and he like falls, and he gets out of it. He sees ELI in like different orders scratched into the shelving or the dresser. And then his parents and Dr. Horn come in the room like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? You need to fucking chill, fucking smoke a joint, relax, unwind a bit. And then he is sitting down talking to his parents and Dr. Horn, telling them like, hey, this is what I see. And he calls Dr. Horn a liar, says, you're making me sicker, you aren't actually helping anyone. And then the next night, it cuts straight from that night, or I don't know when they had the conversation, like the next day or whatever, but the next night it cuts to him and the girl talking, and she's like, damn, you look terrible. And he's like, yeah, I'm being subject to experiments here. I can't look too great, you know? And then the girl, she mentions another kid that was there before named Perry. And then he says, you know, you're not going to believe me, but I'm seeing ghosts. I think that this doctor is making me worse. She says, oh, no, like, I believe you. I talked to the last kid that was here. His name was Perry, I think. He said the longer he was in the house, the more he saw the ghosts, and she never saw him after his third procedure. And I don't know, like, how much they've interacted off camera, how long it is between procedures, but she does say that I've interacted with you more than the other kids, and so therefore I care about you more, and I want you to get out of this house. Um, they've interacted twice that we've seen at least. I'm just going to assume that's all that they've interacted, because he doesn't see. It seems like they're doing a procedure every day, so I don't think that like, oh, he did a procedure today and in a week he'll do the second one. No, it seems like it's every day. So the bar is just really low for who she cares about in this house, really, unless you know, she cares about him for another reason. Fucking that that was the quaking of foreshadowing. It's intense. Then he starts walking back to his room and down the hallway that he should learn to stay out of by now. He starts getting tugged at. You can see like his shirt getting pulled in different directions. It's actually pretty cool effects that they do on this. And then as he's getting dragged, he gets like taken down and dragged across the floor. And as he passes a window, he like sees three little kids dragging him along the floor, and they take him into the metal like disinfecting chamber that he had to go through to get in. And he starts to react and he starts to burn up, and then he blacks out and wakes up to Dr. Horn. Eli, wake up, wake up. His parents really questioning, you know, how the fuck did he get out? I thought it was locked. And Dr. Horn says, oh, it must have been a malfunction. It must have been an electrical glitch. And then it goes to him arguing with his parents and Dr. Horn again, the same deal that they did last night, where he's calling her a liar, and his parents are like, stop, you're fine, it's the medication. And then it goes to Eli laying in bed while his dad and Dr. Horn are talking outside the room. And as Eli's mom walks up, they switch conversation and they make up some lie about how they were talking about how crazy it is that Eli tried to escape. And then the mom talks to Eli and says, look, we believe that you're seeing things, we just don't believe that they're real. Your dad really trusts Dr. Horn, he's the one who found her. And you know, throughout the whole movie they keep talking about you know, trust and faith and all this, and so I don't know why that'd be a good idea. And as he's like hugging his mom, Eli looks at the scratches in the wood, LIE, and as he like looks a certain way, and this is why I said it's funny that they made his E's look like threes. He looks and it says 317, and he mouths that out loud. What a coincidence, right? Who doesn't love good old plot protection? And then it goes to Eli talking to that girl again, and he asks, did Perry ever say if it seemed like the ghosts were trying to hurt him or trying to help him? And the girl says, you know, I don't really know. I didn't see him much longer after he told me about the ghosts. And then that night, Eli waits for everyone to go to sleep. So he thinks. He sneaks down into the procedure area where he hasn't been awake, and he gets in using that 317 code. He's looking for files to try and prove that something happened with these past kids, that something did happen at this place. And then while he's down there looking, it shows his parents having a conversation talking about what the dad and Dr. Horn were actually talking about. And dad says, oh, she said that every procedure he goes through, there's a chance he doesn't make it through. I don't know how you can just be okay with that. You'll find out why he's okay with it, but you know. And then the dad admits that he doesn't actually know if Dr. Horn can cure Eli, and he admits he lied about it, even though he was the one this whole time saying, hey, Mr. Faithful, Mr. Trustworthy, Mr. Would Never Lie, lied. But that oddly, that's not the biggest plot twist yet. So fucking, you better keep that seatbelt fastened. We're not done. And then they start arguing, and all of a sudden it wakes up Dr. Horn, while Eli is still looking for those files. And Eli, he can't find anything that he's looking for, so he starts to leave. But then all of a sudden he hears someone say his name in a very kind of way, and would have made me poop myself. Would have forgot completely about those files, dropped the flashlight fucking out of there. But he turns around to this other filing cabinet, and lo and behold, he finds exactly what he's looking for. And the first file that he sees is his own, and he sees the pictures that they take of him before each step in the procedure. And so far, he's only got the 2. Then he pulls another file, and it's the kid Perry that the girl has been talking about the whole time. And this kid did get to procedure 3, but that's it. The third picture is in fact the kid dead. And then he pulls out 2 other files, and same deal. Treatment 1, the kid looks fine. Treatment 2 looks ghostly like he does. Treatment 3, dead. If you look at the pictures, they're all bleeding from a centralized point. And so he's just now really convinced that Dr. Horn is killing these kids and trying to kill him too. One of the nurses comes down into the treatment area, and Eli books it out of there, leaving the door open, and just a lot of clear signs that he was down there. He didn't take the files for some reason. That would have been like, I would have made sure to grab those, but he doesn't, because he wants to be aerodynamic to get the fuck up out of there. But then it shows his mom outside packing the car, saying that she's leaving and that she's taking Eli with her because she really doesn't feel like her son is getting better. And she's worried now after learning that she was lied to about the reliability of this procedure. But of course, Dr. Horn talks her into staying and letting her help Eli, and that this is all going to be better in the end. Eli then gets to his dad, who he's like, Dad, we got to bounce. They killed the kids. I left the proof, but fucking believe me, source, trust me, bro. The dad is like, look, Eli, I understand you're scared. I want to help you get better. And he like hugs Eli, but as he does, he stabs him with a syringe. And then Eli gets dragged out by the nurses, and his mom and dad kind of just watch it. So they kind of played chase throughout the house as Eli runs to get the files, which he should have had in the first place. They're gone, of course, because why wouldn't they hide them? Idiot. And then he runs and hides himself in Dr. Horn's room and sees a picture of her like in a group of nuns. He notices her in the picture. And then he sees this fly that's kind of been like, that like it first shows whenever he looks out the window the first time. He sees a fly. He sees the fly go into like a crack in the wall, like a pretty sizable gap. Opens it up, and there's a staircase that goes down there. And so of course he goes down for some fucking reason, because everyone knows that the first thing you do when you find a hidden dungeon in a mad scientist laboratory is you go down it, because mama ain't raised no bitch. But he gets down there, and it's this like it looks like a well kind of in the middle, and there's like all these crosses everywhere, and he sees like a giant metal cross in there. Gate slams shut, and Dr. Horn and his parents trapped him in there. And then because this area of the house isn't like super sanitized and disinfected and everything, he does start to have his reaction to the environment. And then when he's like, hey, I can't breathe, you gotta let me out. Dr. Horn says, no, we've got to leave him. He knows what's happened here. So the fact that his parents weren't, totally, oh my goodness, dun dun, they knew that this lady hasn't actually done anything right. As his parents and Dr. Horn leave, Eli falls on the ground and he starts to catch his breath, and the burning like stops. He gets better. And then he starts cheering at the top of his lungs. I'm not sick anymore. I can breathe. I'm cured, Dr. Horn. I'm sorry. Okay, he didn't really say that last part, but he does start cheering like I can breathe. I'm not sick anymore. And then his mom comes downstairs and gives this spiel like, I lied. You were never sick. She just did it to protect him, I guess. And then all of a sudden, Eli fucking falls out on the floor. Mom opens the gate, rushes in, and as she's trying to help him up, hit her upside the head with a metal cross and knocks her the fuck out. And he runs up the stairs and he runs past the operation room. Dr. Horn and his dad see him and they start chasing after him. And he gets to that like glass area where he meets up with the girl and he starts smacking the fucking fire extinguisher on the glass trying to break it. And right before he's able to actually break it, his dad busts down the door. They grab him and the girl is like talking shit to Dr. Horn. And as they're like taking him away, it cuts back to the mom and she picks up the metal cross that Eli hit her with and fucking holy sword. She's gonna fucking slice you with the power of the Lord. And then she opens up that like well that Eli was like sitting up against. And there's the three fucking kids. Mom believes that now that the doctor fucking sucks. And then she runs and tells the dad, and dad seems completely unfazed by it. And then Dr. Horn says, look, what I'm doing, what I've been doing to him, it should have been working. This kid is too strong, she says. She says that he's too strong to fight the gene therapy. And says that, you know, his physical form fucking trashed. Get rid of it. We can save that fucking soul. And so mom is like, fuck this. We out. Starts to unstrap him, and dad is like, hey, look, let me help. Let me see the knife. Again, Mr. Faithful hands the knife back to Dr. Horn, and she's like, look, we're gonna save ya boy. Then they do this like ritual where Dr. Horn is splashing holy water. Clearly this turned into like a devil subgenre rather than an illness, which I would have really liked if it was like an illness plague type. But as she goes to stab him with the blade that he previously beat his mother over the head with, Eli starts to get constipated. And she just, you know, feels really bad about stabbing a kid who can't even shit right now. And she actually decides to stab herself. Now, okay, Eli's got powers and made her do that shit. And then Eli busts out of all the cuffs and stuff, and they're like burning away. They're ashing. And then Eli gets up and he's like red. And his eyes are red and his whole skin, it looks like burned. He controls Dr. Horn and the two nurses with his mind. And he picks him up, makes him fucking T-pose. I can't. My setup isn't T-pose optimal. And then turns him upside down. More symbolism. And then he lights him on fire. Because what else would you do at that point? Can't really get any scarier, except for fire. And then he asks his mom, you know, like what the hell am I? You've been lying to me. Like, what am I? His mom explains, look, I prayed for a kid. I prayed to have you. And when God didn't answer, who else do you pray to? Not the fucking devil. The devil told her, you know, kid's not gonna be like me. He's just gonna be like you. Surprise. The devil lied. Everyone fucking lies in this movie. And then it shows Eli's dad pick up the knife, his stepdad, pick up the knife, and he goes in for a Warzone animation. But Eli said, get fucked, bitch, and blows up his fucking head. And then Eli walks out of the house, letting it burn to shit. His mom comes out with him, and it shows the little girl that he's been hanging out with, waiting by a truck, and she's like, hey, I'm also the kid of the devil. Real Percy Jackson spin-off, you know, that they got going here. And so I also think it's fucking hilarious that they made a ginger a kid of the devil. And then he says, "Take me to dad." And she said, "All right." Looks at the mom, says, "You're driving. Gonna be one hell of a reunion." And that's where the movie ends. Yeah. There's a lot of things I have issue with. It doesn't explain why he like had a reaction um to being outside. Doesn't explain why he would burn up all the time. And that's why I kind of say like, oh, if they had another 30 something minutes or whatever, they could explain like, look, this is why you can't go outside. But yeah, I think that this movie, I think that the twist was set up well. They just didn't give enough time for, they didn't explain a whole lot for the twist. Um, they didn't leave a lot of time left for it. So it really leaves a lot of questions. Like, what did they think that what did they think he was gonna get cured for? Did they think they were gonna get like the devil powers out of him? So I don't know what was expected. I liked the movie. Like I said, I've seen it a couple times. The ending, the twist, just comes a little too late for me. I really wish that they had spent more time kind of explaining stuff a bit. Yeah, just kind of a real roller coaster movie, if you ask me. But that's all I got on it.